welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, we start the second half of the Pittsburgh Steelers 2022 season. The first half, one to forget, obviously, but there's good news. TJ Watt and DeMonte KZ are likely on their way back. The hardest part of the schedule is behind the Steelers at this point. Things could be on the up and up, but what is too much on the up and up? We're going to get into all that and more, but first, it's a beautiful day in the Burgh. I just got back to the city last night, enjoyed a couple of days away from football, which was cool. Was your favorite part of the bye week watching Tom Brady? Because as everybody knows, Steven grew up a Tom Brady fan. Watching Tom Brady's of Patriots, it's the same thing. Watching Tom Brady lead that comeback, watching Steelers fans lose their mind over Chase Claypool's 2 receptions, which I thought was pretty cool, or Juju Smith-Schuster saying, "What's up, guys? I'm actually very good at football." What one was your favorite part of the weekend?
Well, despite what you have kind of presented me as, I was a Patriots fan, not a Tom Brady fan. I actually kind of enjoy rooting against Tom Brady these days. I also did have the Rams defense in fantasy, so watching him do that was not very fun either.
True.
Watching him score points against them. I think watching Juju play that well again, that was pretty fun. I like Juju. I don't know. I felt like he's a fun player. Of all the former Steelers out there, I feel like he's the one that, I don't know. Like, I have a roommate who's a Steelers fan too, and he was like, "Damn, this is really hurting watching Juju do this for another team after
what could have been, after what was wasted."
Exactly.
Imagine. So last year, you weren't here last year, but last year I listened to Matt Canada for weeks talk about how Juju Smith-Schuster is the best slot option they have. He is a true-blooded slot guy, convinced all of Steelers Nation that Juju Smith-Schuster cannot play on the outside as a wide receiver. Went to Kansas City, and I'm just like, well, we were wrong. He was clearly wrong because this guy makes acrobatic catches, and like he uses what they used in Pittsburgh, what the excuses were in Pittsburgh. He's a big-bodied guy. He's physical. You want that in the middle of the field. He does that on the outside, and it works for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Right. I just don't get it. But I do love it. Like, Juju was such a good dude. And even when he came back and said bye to fans a couple of months ago, I went out and talked to him. And even then, he was just like, I love this place. And he's just a genuine guy. You don't find very genuine humans these days. And he's one of them. Even with like everything that went down, like all the people bagging on the TikToks and everything, he was just like, yeah, we're good. We're gonna keep the love. So I'm all about that. I apologize that your fantasy team stunk. My fantasy teams are hot garbage right now, so I'm on the same boat. And I don't believe you when you say that you root against Tom Brady. Never will. It's just part of being a Patriots fan.
Tom Brady's kind of a dick, and it's very easy to see, especially like, especially all this happened over the past few weeks. You can like, he just acts like a brat all the time. I mean, like I saw it when he played the Steelers. Like he was spiking throws into the grass and then went back to go yell offensive line in between threes. Like, it's all the stuff that everyone told me was true about Tom Brady when I was a kid, and I was able to like ignore it because I don't know, he's winning my team football games. But once you remove him from that, it's so easy to see why people don't like him.
Were you like that fan though? Were you like, no, Tom Brady's, he's not doing any wrong growing up? Was that you?
I would never say he wasn't doing any wrong. I would just kind of, like I would avert my eyes a little bit, I would just look at other parts of the team. I wouldn't focus on the Tom Brady parts. I would, I don't know.
What about Bill Belichick? Were you a fan of Bill Belichick the whole time? Like he was like the family guy, like he doesn't hug his son bit, like you didn't look at him like, oh, this guy's probably a little weird.
Oh, no, I think he's a little weird. He's a good football coach. I mean, if anything, he's like too protective of his son. Like, there's no reason Steve Belichick should like have a job with the Patriots. Like, I don't
No.
know. Like, that
How
doesn't
did
make
that
any sense.
happen? How did Steve Belichick come out of, you know what I mean? Like they
Mhm.
don't look anything alike. The dude's rocking a mullet. I didn't think mullets were accepted in
That
Boston.
that family does not care how they look, like how they present themselves. They're like, I am who I am. I look how I look, and you are going to deal with it. I don't care if I'm on national television. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I respect that.
No doubt. No doubt. Bill's always been a guy that, you know, and I grew up a Steelers fan, so Bill was my worst enemy. But
Mhm.
you know, you learn to respect. You learn to respect a little bit, and I enjoy now that Brady and Bill both have struggled since they've departed,
Mhm.
because I didn't like the narrative that it was just like it was Brady. Like Brady kept Bill alive. I'm like, all right, guys, let's relax. Brady went into the best defense in football with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as his wide receivers, and Bill was left with Cam Newton. Okay, let's relax. Everybody calm down. So I didn't like that narrative either. But all right, that's enough Patriots talk, maybe for the rest of the year, but
Yeah.
had to be addressed. Had to be addressed. Let's talk Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll get two big names back this week. TJ Watt, DeMonte KZ, likely coming off IR. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin said before the bye week or during the bye week that he has a role for KZ. It'll be pretty significant. You'd imagine that it's the 3 safety set that they ran in the preseason before his wrist injury. TJ Watt is TJ Watt. He's going to step in just as he did and create an impact pretty much from the jump. I think the bigger question now is where do you go from here? What's the defense look like from here? Because Akello Witherspoon got benched for James Pierre. They made the move for William Jackson. It seems like there's an abundance of cornerbacks. You're probably not going to get rid of a safety, even when you do add Terrell or not Terrell Edmonds, DeMonte KZ, and then you have a couple of linebackers to choose from. Do you have names that you believe will be gone to add jerseys for Watt and KZ by Sunday?
Yeah. I think definitely a guy who got elevated from the practice squad pretty recently. Ryan Anderson, can definitely see him getting cut pretty soon. Just and not even doesn't really have as much to do with Anderson as much as it has to do with the fact that he's not TJ Watt, you know. He's just kind of the last man on the totem pole. So that's the guy that I think you can pretty easily say he's gonna get demoted whenever Watt comes up. I feel like corner, like the defensive backfield, that's a little more up in the air, you know. That
Are are you a guy that didn't mean to interrupt, but are you a guy that my thought? Everybody's saying Josh Jackson, because obviously the bottom of the totem pole. Is there any chance that it's not Josh Jackson? Like, and that there's because my thought is there's a lot of guys here, and Josh Jackson has, in recent weeks has played better than guys like Akello Witherspoon and Levi Wallace, and he's not probably not going to be as upset about sitting at the end of the bench than those guys either.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I feel like it would be really weird to walk in with Keller Witherspoon as one of your starting corners, only to cut him, you know, um, cut him, I guess, halfway through the season. So to that extent, I feel like they still have faith in Witherspoon's abilities. And, the other thing is Witherspoon was on AJ Brown all during their last game. Like that's part of why he kind of looked a little, I have to imagine why he looked like he wasn't, playing up snuff. I think anyone would kind of, I wouldn't have expected Josh Jackson or James Pierre, anyone to have done a much better job on literally AJ Brown against that offense and all that. So I think you got to take that into account too. Just if you're benching Akella Witherspoon, are you definitely getting an upgrade there? I don't think so.
No, I mean James Pierre seems like the guy that they want to test out next, but you have to like set that bar low. You can't be like, oh well, the third time's the charm with this guy. He's finally gonna things are finally gonna work out. Like he does have all the athletic tools, but nothing's panned out. So I agree with that. When it comes to the outside linebacker, do you think so? I thought Ryan Anderson was my choice as well. That's who I continued to say is the guy that's going. But then I looked at the numbers, and Anderson has completely removed Jameer Jones from the defensive snap count in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks since he's been elevated. Like completely removed. And even so, he's, Anderson's only playing 10 snaps a game. But at the other end of that, he has not played a special team snap, whereas Jameer Jones has played like 70% of special team snaps pretty much all season. When it comes to that fourth outside linebacker, are you keeping Ryan Anderson because he's the better outside linebacker? Or are you keeping Jameer Jones because he has special teams experience? I'm not going to say he's the better special teamer, but he's got special teams experience as that fourth outside linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is something we talked about a little bit during training camp when we were going through, bigger rounds of cuts and stuff like that. But lots of guys can play special teams,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like there's a hole in the Steelers special teams, at any certain spot. So that makes me say that the guy who's going to be the better outside linebacker will take that spot, especially because this is a health thing. We're dealing with with TJ Watt, who has a pretty sensitive who's dealing with a pretty sensitive injury. So I think having that insurance, keeping that insurance around is a much better option for the Steelers right now than trying to find value on special teams right now. I feel like that definitely shouldn't be their focus.
Yep, I agree. I thought that same thing. Until I looked at the numbers and then thought, it kind of feels like Jameer Jones is on his way out of here. Mm-hmm. On top of that, I think both of them would pass through waivers rather easily, but Jameer Jones is a dude who spent time on the practice squad before. Like, I get Ryan Anderson has too, but the Jameer Jones project just hasn't worked out. Like, even when he's out there, when he played at the beginning of the season, nothing was happening. Ryan Anderson made a play Sunday against the Eagles. I'm pretty sure he got a sack. He's been effective enough. And on the same time, like, Malik Reed has been very inconsistent. So you can't rely on him to be the third down guy or the third outside linebacker every single time. So it's good options. I agree with that one. Going back to the cornerback. So you are sold on Josh Jackson. You believe it'll be Josh Jackson that's on his way out there. He can't go back to the practice squad. Like, that's, I think, the hardest decision here is you have to, once you get rid of him, he's done for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Is there any possibility that the Steelers somehow keep, what would that be? 2, 4, 5, 6 cornerbacks, 5 safeties, and get rid of a different position to make room for DeMonte Casey?
I really don't think so. That's just way too, you need this. Yeah, you need this kind of depth. You can't just, pile up that position at the expense of others. I know their defensive backfield has been, kind of injury prone this year. You can't really expect, or you can't really make a prediction about how much that is going to, how that's going to play out the rest of the year, whether these injuries flare back up. But you've had a ton of injuries elsewhere too. You can't. It would put the rest of your defense at a really big disadvantage and put their depth at risk to load up at corner that much. That seems a little irresponsible, I think, at this point in the season.
No, yeah, I agree. You're taking a chance. I'd say the only name that stands out to me is like maybe getting cut over anybody would be Marcus Allen, but he's a special teams ace.
Yeah,
chances are you're not going to get rid of him. But if you could find and like the run, I think the run against Philly like solidified everything. It was just like, okay, this guy's part of this team this season. And I agree. I just think it's tough. Like, Marcus Allen is literally the only third string anything on the Steelers depth chart. So
yeah,
you don't really have room to mess around. I just would I kind of hate to see Josh Jackson go because I think he showed a lot in his one start. I think he's, like a bottom of the depth chart piece that you could rely on. But
yeah,
I think Mike Tomlin says it all the time. Like, it's better to have an abundance problem rather than a talent problem. And, if Akella Witherspoon is your 5th cornerback in week 10 against New Orleans, it's like literally about as good as it gets in the NFL. And especially for Pittsburgh, a team that 2 weeks ago, you were sitting around going, oh man, James Pierre and Josh Jackson are starting at cornerback, this is going to get really, really, really ugly. So I agree. I think those two names make a big impact. The return, obviously, that doesn't even need to be talked about. The return on those two guys is going to be huge, but they're both coming off major injuries. So it's more like a wait and see type of thing, I believe, before anybody could jump to judgment and say, all right, the defense is fixed. It's only up from here. But that being said, we are going to go through the schedule. We are going to see how the second half of this season goes through. Maybe things turn around when you enter a much easier part of the 2022 season. But first, we got a word from our boys over at Manscaped. It's never too early to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a friend or the friend in your pants, you can make this season a season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add the Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have the people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about a sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and using our code STEELERS20 for free shipping and 20% off. Manscaped's Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. It has everything needed to help you deck the halls from face to balls just in time for mistletoe season. The Platinum Package has each product from the best-selling Performance Package plus Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner, and Ultra Premium Deodorant. It's the best way to smell fresh from your Santa hat to your candy cane. The Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer and the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence. Plus, both are waterproof, so there's no issue clearing the snow out of your driveway. There's also a 4000K LED light on it, so you can light the way just like Rudolph. Now that you've groomed your candy cane, it's time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer with the Platinum Package shower products. All of Manscaped's shower gear is sulfate-free, vegan, and made to have your skin feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. But smelling good doesn't stop at the shower. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner can solve stank problems all day long. Once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. The Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add in the brand new Body Buffer, an incredible body scrubber that makes exfoliating easy and a lot cleaner than that old loofah. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And all you have to do is use our code STEELERS20. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. Again, best ad read of my life. Favorite part of the show, for being honest, until they're gone. I have another one that I'm supposed to break out. Don't want to do it because this one's
so
just
can't use all your bullets at once. We gotta.
No, it's a long month. It's a great holiday season. There's a lot of Black Friday stuff for these guys, so make sure that you check that out too in the upcoming weeks. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Second half of the season. First half, rough. 2-6 entering week 10. The last time they were 2-6, it was under Bill Cowher. It was his last season. They came back. They finished 8-8. Things have been better. Things have been worse. But the Steelers got, they're here. They got what they got. They're about to enter a much easier part of their schedule, I believe, and I think a lot of other people believe as well. A couple of primetime games, a couple of AFC North matchups to kind of turn that thing around. We're going to go through the schedule, see where we see the Steelers finishing as they work through a 2-6 season. All right. So this Sunday at home, week 10 against the New Orleans Saints. Chances are it's Andy Dalton, the Red Rider, coming to Pittsburgh, the return in a new uniform. Do you chalk that one up as a win or a loss?
I'm inclined to believe that's a win, quite honestly. I'm not. I don't think these Saints are particularly good at anything. I think they've had a couple of results that were more like out of the ordinary, like just not like they've blown a couple of people out. Then I think those are kind of more anomalies. I don't think those are really representative of how good that team is. So Especially for the Steelers at home. I like that for them. I think the defense will be able to keep them in it. Pickett will start to make, enough plays. We'll see a little bit of growth from him. I like that one as a win.
Yep. I think I agree with that one. You're coming off the bye. You're well rested. You get TJ Watt and Demonte KZ back. Just like you said, the Saints are, they're very beat up, just like the Steelers. I could see that one being a win. So you're 3-6. You're entering week 11, Sunday night football, the beginning of back-to-back primetime games for the Steelers against a red-hot Cincinnati Bengals team and Joe Nixon that just ran for 5 touchdowns yesterday. I mean, tough at home. It is at home. They are 1-0 against Cincy, but this is a very different Cincinnati team. What do you got going on here?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a completely different team than the one the Steelers faced in week 1. This looks like a pretty sure loss. Especially if you're just kind of getting Demonte KZ and TJ Watt back into the fold, that might take a minute. Yeah, it's a pretty bad matchup just the way Mixon is running. Steelers haven't been great against the run with or without TJ in there, quite honestly. So that seems like a pretty sure loss. I feel pretty safe about that one.
Yeah, I do too. There's either way, like you go into the season expecting to split AFC North matches, and Cincy is just way too good right now. I just don't think that the Steelers have the firepower to keep up with them. And unless the defense absolutely rocks Joe Burrow and shuts down Joe Mixon, it's going to be hard to say that that's going to be a competitive game. So I'm going to go with the loss on that one. So what? They're 3-7, week 12, the beginning of back-to-back away games. This time you're heading to Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, Monday Night Football. Sam Ellinger versus Kenny Pickett, the show everybody wants to see. The Colts are not good though. So, and Jonathan Taylor's dealing with injuries. So you never know.
Yeah, these guys stink. Not to make this Patriots, all Patriots talk again, but like that's how I spent my bye week because I watched these Colts play the Patriots and it was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah.
I don't think this Steelers defense is necessarily as good as the Patriots defense, at least right now, at least in their current iterations. But like, I don't think it matters. Like the Colts are not good. Ellinger, he's young, but he is also not the answer, especially not right away. And if these guys, they couldn't protect anyone. Like they could not protect Sam Ellinger at all. I think the Steelers are gonna have a field day getting to the quarterback in this game.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's a head to the road Monday Night Football, bounce back from a tough loss to Cincinnati to kind of give some juice there. So you'd be 4-7. Like the season's still live. I think the second half, the theme of the second half is going to be a roller coaster ride. And Indy is, there's not many teams worse than the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Indianapolis is probably one of them, especially if Jonathan Taylor isn't healthy and doesn't play. There's really just nothing to catch on to there. Week 13, 4-7 at this point. On the road again, you're flying to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The only tough part here is at this point, Cordell Patterson will probably be back, and as much as the Falcons, say they have a quarterback, they refuse to throw the football. So you're probably going to face a very tough run game. Do you walk out of Atlanta a winner or a loser?
I don't know. Like, yeah, they're not throwing the ball, but they don't like really need to. Like, they're still kind of putting up points just by like this is a good rushing offense. And again, like it's not something the Steelers have done well against this year. Even at their healthiest, that and on the road too. Like I know Atlanta is not a particularly tough place to play, but this is also a team that's like leading their division. It is admittedly probably the worst division in football, but it's leading a division no matter what. That seems like a loss. I mean, Atlanta could, be the Atlanta Falcons, but I don't know. This team feels a little different. Like they know what they're good at, and they're not, they know what they're doing. There seems to be a little bit more competence there than there has been in the past.
Yeah, that's the thing is they seem to be pointed in a direction. It seems like a while since Atlanta knew where they should be and how like the type of football that they should be playing. And maybe that's like a Matt Ryan thing. I don't think Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback or ever was a bad quarterback, but when you have a quarterback like Matt Ryan, it's hard to say we shouldn't put the game in Matt Ryan's hands. But with Marcus Mariota, you just kind of say, all right, let's just go win a football game. Doesn't really matter how you do it.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting that.
Yeah. So you look at Atlanta, and I agree with you. I think this one's a loss. I think they're fighting for a lot more than the Steelers are at this point, which is tough. It's on the road. Mercedes-Benz is a good stadium to play in. So at that point, you're 4-8 heading into week 14. You're looking like the season's not looking real good. You head back home, you play Baltimore. As much as this one might look like a blowout, you got to also remember that the Steelers play Lamar Jackson better than anybody. Even at their worst, they seem to play Lamar Jackson better than anybody. 4-8. You never know. At that point, you're probably 4 games out of first place in the AFC North. But can you pull out a win at home?
I have a hard time seeing it. I want to believe in the that they probably will keep playing Lamar Jackson really well. That was something I actually did not believe. Someone told me oh yeah, the Steelers every time they face Lamar, it's they shut him down, and I was like, really? That I called BS on that, but I was completely wrong. They do play Lamar really well. But I don't know if it'll be enough. Again, I don't know if just the offense will be able to make enough plays to keep up, even with a slowed down Lamar.
Yep, I agree. I look at it the same way. I think that you could keep this one close and it could be exciting. And I honestly think that this could be a win, like a Kenny Pickett finds some mojo, pulls one out against the AFC North rival, top dog, Baltimore Ravens. You know what I mean? I could see that happening, but speaking realistically, it's tough to say that the offense is going to do enough to match what the defense is going to do against Lamar. It's because even at Lamar's worst, Baltimore is going to score 14 to 21 points. And the Steelers, from everything we've seen, the Steelers cannot do that. And on top of that, at that point, Roquan Smith's going to be ready to go and, totally effective. Patrick Queen is ridiculous. Tyus Bowser's on his way back. I think he played last week. So there are certainly factors on the defensive side that are just going to say this is going to be very tough to win. I will give you a surprise there. I think it's going to be a win there. A lot tougher than I think it's going to be like a gritty, you bring some light into next season win, but the realistic option is a loss. So we're going to stick with the loss on that one. So that would be 4-9 heading into week 15. You're in Carolina playing the Panthers. PJ Walker is looking good, but the Panthers look awful. And I don't know if anybody's worse than the Panthers right now.
Yeah. And again, it's one of the few teams somehow playing for less than the Steelers right now. That seems like a pretty Carolina might be the worst team in the league. So
type situation. Yeah. I'd say an easy win. Easy win. So 5-9.
This next game is interesting.
Interesting. So Las Vegas Raiders, the weekend 50-year anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. They're going to honor Franco Harris. They're going to retire his jersey at halftime. The Raiders are hot garbage. You know this very well. We talk a lot about the Patriots in this episode, but Mike McDaniels might be the worst offensive coordinator, head coach.
Josh McDaniels.
Mike, what's his name? Not Mike McDaniels. Josh McDaniels in the last 20 years. Attempt 2 somehow is worse than the Tebow attempt 1. And the Raiders are just bad. So at home, Acrisure Stadium, Christmas Eve. Do you pull this one out? Do you see this as a win?
I don't know. The Raiders are so bad, but they're so talented. It makes absolutely no sense. I want to. This feels like one that the Raiders should be able to just overwhelm the Steelers, but I don't think they will. I think this seems more likely of a win than Atlanta or the Ravens. Honestly,
oh yeah. What are did the Raiders? The Raiders didn't win. What is the Raiders' record right now?
I don't think they have. They definitely don't have more than 2 wins.
Yeah, is that their? They are. They're 2-6 right now.
Yeah,
real bad. real bad. That could be a fight for like the top 5 pick in the draft at this point.
Right.
Christmas Eve, immaculate reception. This should have been a huge game. Like it should have been such a prime time Christmas Eve event. And
yeah, isn't it? It's a night game, isn't it?
yeah, it's the night game, Christmas Eve. Like this is how I picture it. Like I picture like when I thought of this game, when the schedule was released, my thought was this is going to be sick. It's going to be at Acrisure Stadium. Like hopefully like there's like a really light snowfall like towards the end of the game. You know what I mean? That like all the fans get to enjoy. Like at that point, it's midnight. You know, it's Christmas morning. Like you're in the city. You're watching the Steelers battle it out with the Raiders. Both really good teams. You know, Franco got his jersey retired at halftime. Now you're just looking at it and you go, this is going to be the sloppiest football game of all time. Like it's going to be a disaster offensively. But as talented as they are, they stink. Like they stink. They don't look like they have any light whatsoever. So I would say that's a win. I think there's going to be a lot of juices going for Pittsburgh. Like there's going to be, it's just one of those games where like, it's like an NFL game. You know what I mean? Like there's certain games in the NFL that you just like, you're like, all right, well, this is designed for the Steelers to win because if they lose, it's going to ruin all the other things that come with the weekend. And, you know, those games always tend to work out in the team that should win's favor. So I'd say that one's a win. It shouldn't be, but I'd say that one's a win. So at that point, you're what, 5-10?
Yeah.
5-10 heading into week 17. At Baltimore. This is, I don't even think this has to be discussed. That's going to be a smoke show. Like it's going to be like, you know, you do play Lamar well. I think you're going to play Lamar well again, but it's at home. It's in Baltimore. At that point, they're going to be fighting for the playoffs. I think the only way that they lose that game is if the starters sit. And or they win that game is if the starters sit. But if they don't, and we have to imagine that they won't.
Yeah, and I just the way the Ravens are going, like they're not going to be in any position to not be playing for something. You know, they're going to have playoff position or just
AFC North
seeding, right?
Yep. Yeah, they're going to be battling out with Cincinnati for the winner of the division. There's no like it's Steelers shouldn't even show up to that one. We like shouldn't even try. So 5-11. Cleveland, you come back home week 18. At that, you're getting your first look at Deshaun, right? Yeah, first look at Deshaun Watson. Game's undecided. You know, that was supposed to be a primetime event, probably be a 1:00 game. You know, do you end the season on a win? Do you walk away as a loser?
I don't think the season ends on a win. In the state, I mean, the Browns are going to be obviously playing for something. They're going to be motivated. They're another team that's going to have, you know, playoff position or seeding on the line. If they're lucky, honestly. But you have to assume that when Deshaun comes back, that they're going to play a little bit better. This one seems like a loss.
Yeah, I agree. It stinks that Deshaun's first game against the Steelers will be a loss to Pittsburgh, but you know, I do. I think at that point, like, you know, what are you playing for? Like, I could see that game ending 17-10 in the most undramatic fashion of all time. And you're just like, all right, well, that was fun. You know, let's head into the offseason. A lot of people super angry after the game. You know, Matt Canada gets fired 2 days after, you know, I could see that, that's how that goes out. So you finish the season 5-12. You're probably sitting in the top 10, you know, pretty straightforward question here to end this episode. Is that a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, is that a positive at the end of the season to push out a 5-12 season, which is torturous for fans, but possibly good for the direction of the football team?
Yeah, I think look, it's not going to be fun to watch them slog through the end of this year, but
no,
you got to take the good with the bad. Like, you got to take where you are for what it's worth. You are a 2-win team right now. You're not going to magically become an whatever, like what's the best case scenario, you know, like a 12-win team or 10-win team or whatever. Like that just doesn't happen. You are where you are, and so getting a top 10 pick out of this season is not the worst thing to ever happen. You know, the second half of the season is kind of a tryout for a lot of people. Like which parts of this ship do you want to salvage for your next run at things? who's a long-term part of your future, who's not. That's what we're gonna find out, and that's what you got to take it for.
Yep, exactly. You're looking at this team saying, what pieces can we build off of? What do we have to grab? Imagine, because the Bears are not going to get much better. I get that they won. It was cool, whatever. They're not going to get much better. So you could end this season with a top 10 pick and 2 possible top 10 picks in the second round. You talk about a rebuild. That's how you create a rebuild and build that momentum much faster than you'd like to. I think it's a win. Like, the best case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season is to finish 5-12, win a couple of games that you feel real good about. Even if you finish 6-11 and you get that win against Baltimore, and like, even if it bumps you back a spot or 2 in the draft, I think that's okay, because that's a feel good win. And sometimes you need a feel good win over anything. Doesn't eliminate the fans or anything. Doesn't kill anybody's hope for next season. You got a lot that you could build off of, and then you take it into the offseason and you regroup. You get a new offensive coordinator, and I think things look very bright for the future. I don't expect this to be a very long rebuild. Just if you do it right and you struggle in the second half, you could do it in a season. You come in here next year and you could be the New York Jets, and you can feel really good about the situation. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think 5-12 is the way to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I never thought in my life I'd say that, but sometimes it's about being more realistic than anything else. All right, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Like and review us on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else, and go use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. I will be back tomorrow with the Q&A. Me and Steven will be back Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.